Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for January 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog. If you would love to learn astrology with me, my astrology apprenticeship program will be enrolling in January. It's quite a journey that we take into self and into helping others with this beautiful art and science. And if you'd like to bring your business online, check out my Creating Successful Online Business, which is also enrolling in January. So what's going on in this new month, this new year for Sagittarius? I don't know if you notice this, but I definitely notice. I'm a Sagittarius, and at this time of the year, I'm always very focused on work. Here in the quiet darkness of winter where I live, it is, I've had some of my most productive work pushes, even though we're plumb in the middle of a retrograde cycle. You can still move forward on things. It's just, you don't want to launch things, and I'll go into more of this after. And you can watch my Mercury retrograde video, my Venus retrograde video to understand this better. But not launching doesn't mean not getting things done. I noticed that this time of year, I've had my taxes done early, all of the stuff on my side. I organize everything in my life. And that's because this Capricorn energy really starts to move into the first and second house for Sagittarius placements. So it's like the energy of organization, of motivation, of ambition, of making some kind of movement is and it's like structure, and Sag is like not structure. The energy of Sagittarius is not naturally structured. It's quite the opposite of that. So I think that you will find, if you're paying attention, that not only now in this month of January, but every year around this time, that there's something more organized. Like, you might think it's because, it's the new year, so I'm going to get organized. But it's probably less the fact that it's a new year and more the fact that these planets are moving through these sectors of your life. So movement through the first house, and it has to do with your physicality, getting your diet and your routine and your medical checks and exercise and all of that stuff in order, your physical body. The second house has to do with your money. So you might also find at every time this year, every time every year, that maybe you have forward advancements with your work. And if you don't, then you certainly could, because the energy wants you to make money. The second house is the house of money. It's the house of things. It's the house of values. It's also, being the house of Taurus, it's about sensual delights. So I'm calling the theme for this month, even though there are a lot of things going on, I like this theme of sensual overload. Okay, so I have an affirmation for you, and you can check out my new Instagram account to get pretty versions of the affirmations that I recommend. So I wrote an affirmation for us this month that says, I revel in sensual delights that expand my highest good. There are the type of sensual delights that get you off track and cause you to go further away from where you're trying to be. And then there are the sensual delights that can start to become your norm, so that you can have more fun and pleasure even as you have discipline in your life. I saw some really great examples. I live and still live some really great examples of this in the community I lived in Sedona. If you can see the picture back here, I took during one of the 8 years I lived there. And we would have these amazing potlucks that everyone would make, usually raw, vegan, high vibe, super healthy, no sugar, no soy, no gluten, no anything, yummies. And people have come up with some pretty yummy things, even though they don't have any of the things in it that you think would be an indulgence for you, So finding those sensual delights that, a warm, fuzzy blanket, just being wrapped in sensory expansion is something that is a really fun, energetic option for you right now. We don't usually talk about a lot of that stuff with Sag stuff, because we have these missions and we're doing all this stuff and we have these big visions and we're constantly in motion and it's really hard to sit down, but this is a time when, if you can sit down for long enough to enjoy some of these things, that it would be really good for you. So we also have energy that is pretty strong, and this is for, let's see, it's for early, it's for middle. It's not quite for late placements, late degree placements yet, but that will be coming soon. Again, a reminder of early, middle, and late degree placements. If you break up the month that the sun is in Sagittarius into thirds, so 10 days, 10 days, and 10 days of the 30 days, then you will have the first 10 days be the early degree placements, the second 10 days be the middle degree placements, and the last 10 days be the late degree placements. And it's the same if you're watching for your rising sign. So 0 to 10 degrees is early for Sag rising, or 0 to 9 degrees, 10 to 19 degrees for middle, and then 20 to 29 degrees for late degree placements. So things tend to happen for the early and middle degree placements before they happen for the late degree placements, because it's like you're turning a dial on experience. You know, if you're at the end of the line, whatever is clicking towards you isn't quite there yet. You know, you're sort of towards the back of the line. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. You know, it's just certain things happen for the earlier degree placements than they do for the late degree placements. So in any case, all placements have a strong focus in the third house. You might also find that you get very mobile, you know, busy. You might be taking trips. And these would usually be short distance trips, but some people will find themselves very far away, as Sag energy tends to do. You know, it travels very widely, but it's like a busy time. It's kind of contrary to the energy that I think of when I think of, you know, cold winter time as it is for me at that time of year and where I live. You know, it's like, well, I mean, I live in Florida now, so it's not really cold anymore, but I mean in the northern hemisphere. But it's like, I think of like a staying in and being kind of cozy in that winter type of energy. But when planets move into the third house, they're busy. They're all over the place. So if you have this idea that you're going to do all this resting, when in January, you know, and for your later degree placements, this would be more into February, that you're just going to be all over the place visiting this person, someone's coming in, someone's going out, you know, just kind of all over the place. Lots of communication, lots of interactions, lots of movement. So let's see, we're continuing this theme where Jupiter is moving, and again, this is for the early degree placements. It hasn't quite gotten there for the middle to late degree placements. Jupiter is moving through the 11th house. Wherever Jupiter is, this is our ruling planet, so we really want to pay attention to this. Jupiter expands everything it touches. So Jupiter in the 11th house can bring more friends. It can bring stronger connections with previous friendships. It can bring more social groups, more involvements with online groups, live groups. It's the energy of group in action. You know, it's like connecting with people in a large group or a large organization or a humanitarian effort or something like that. So Jupiter is adding luck and benevolence to this sector. But one of the other things that Jupiter does in this placement is it really gives you amazing energy towards making your big dreams come true. I talked about this several months ago in my recording for you called 40 Wishes. This house of the 11th house has to do with these wishes. You know, it's like you go really big, and don't be afraid to go really big, and Jupiter's going to be there to support everything that you ever wanted. But if you don't ask, or you don't ask the question, what do I really want, and you don't really try to do it, then you're not going to do it. You know, so I always say aim super high. Can you tell I have 9 placements in Sag? That's just, you know, an Aries rising. But I say aim super high, and then if you fall short at all, you still make it so much further than you would have if you didn't try. So you have great support here, and the middle and late degree placements will have this coming. And right now, the middle and late degree placements still have Jupiter in the 10th house. The 10th house is about career and work and life purpose. So if ever there were a time for you to expand yourself out into the world, as far as what you do and what you're bringing, the time is now. You know, we're in the midst of these retrogrades, which I'll get more into here in a couple of minutes. But it doesn't mean you can't be taking lots of steps and working in the backdrop and doing inner work and getting things ready for the next time it's time to push out, you know. Definitely don't mistake Mercury retrograde for a time to do nothing, which I'm going to get into more of that too. So these are some of the things that I'm looking at specifically for Sag. And I want to go into the general transits that will affect you in very big ways and help you understand more what's coming. So I'm calling the month of January 2017. The theme for all signs is the edge of the abyss. We start out the month in the middle of the first of a series of personal planets being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So really the ones that are relevant here are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Whenever one of those planets appears as if it's going backwards in the sky, of course they never really do go backwards in their orbit, but from our position on the Earth, if you were watching it in the sky, it would look like it was going backwards. That period of time, called a retrograde, lends itself into going backwards and going in deep. Some people have made the mistake of thinking you can't do anything during a retrograde cycle. That is totally not true, and I'm going to go into more details about that. But basically this energy of being on the edge of the abyss in this Mercury retrograde that is welcoming us as we start this new year. Then on January 8th, Mercury goes direct, and then at the end of January, the shadow period for Venus retrograde starts. Venus rules love and beauty and money. So the energies ruling, or the energies regarding those topics all tend to go backwards. But there's also a shadow period before the actual retrograde. So even though Venus is not retrograde until March 4th, and that's through April 15th, at the end of January, it's already warming up. You know, it's kind of like when you're on your way somewhere, maybe you're at a place not in the forest, okay, and you're driving and there are no trees around. Then all of a sudden you start seeing a couple of trees here and there, and you know that when you go deeper, you're going to be covered with trees on both sides of the road, you know, but it's kind of like the trees are starting to show up, and you're getting that vibe of going into the woods. And that's what the retrograde is like, and that's what the shadow periods are like. So just as Mercury starts to be clear of its shadow period, Venus's shadow period starts. And then we get into full-on Venus retrograde. And then just as Venus goes direct in the middle of April, we start the shadow period for the next Mercury retrograde. And then it's not till May 19th that Venus is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. And it's not till May 21st that Mercury is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. So you can see why I call this time in January the edge of the abyss, and why, if you've listened to my horoscopes for a while, you can see why I was pushing you to push as many things forward into the world in the launch period, November through like December 3rd or so, because these energies want to go back and they want to go in. An analogy that I've been thinking of that really reminds me of the energy of what we're standing before. As I was stating earlier, it's a huge mistake to think you can't do anything in a retrograde. There is so much to do, there's plenty to do, and there are some things that it's actually good to do those things. You can get some specifics on Mercury retrograde by watching my video for that transit. You can also watch my video for Venus retrograde to get more details about specifics for that transit. I'll give some general retrograde energies here. But it's like if you want to clean out your kitchen, right? Maybe it's not too messy when you get in there, but when you start taking stuff out of the cabinets and spreading all the clean surfaces with the stuff from the cabinets in order to get everything out, throw stuff away, wipe the surfaces inside the cabinets, you create a righteous mess, right? In order to meet the objective, which is to have a truly clean kitchen that feels really good, getting rid of stagnant energy, clearing out things you don't need, making room for new. So although we're not starting this new year in an energy with a lot of newness coming in, we definitely have a major opportunity to go in deep and clear those things out. So I know for myself, I'm going to be very busy during these retrograde cycles, and I'm going to take everything in my house and all of my things out and clear them out, and by the time the energies go direct, I won't have complained because I didn't have any shortage of things to do during this retrograde cycle. It's just the new things, the launches. If there's something you've been doing all along, like for instance, I teach Creating Successful Online Business course, and I teach an astrology apprenticeship program. I've been teaching these for a while. So you'll see my launches come out in the midst of these retrograde energies, but they're not new, and they're short-term programs. That's another thing to know about these new, the warnings to not do new things during the retrogrades. That's really a warning to not do long-term things. If you want to try something on or do a trial period or do something for a short amount of time that's not intended to have longevity, it's perfect. It's fine. You know, you can play, you can experiment, etc. And it's a wonderful time to do that. You know, you can have different experiences, and it's like a no commitment type of thing. If you go in thinking I'm going to be doing this for a certain number of years and it's going to be exactly how we're talking about right now, it's just not going to be that way. You know, it's going to change and evolve, and that's the nature of the retrogrades. So, just keep that keynote of being on the edge of the abyss, keeping the understandings that things might have to get a little messier in your life before they can become clearer, but that this is really what's needed. You know, it's really what's needed to get you closer to the things that you want to do, the experiences that you want to have. So, another good point about this retrograde cycle is to try to get your taxes done early. If you can submit them, like at the end of, I know you have to wait for some tax documents at the end of January, but as soon into February as possible, have all your ducks in a row, it's going to be much easier for you, because April 15th is the tax day that everything is due, but that's the end of Venus retrograde, and money things are going to be, you know, affected by this. So you might want to try to get that done. Something else really great about retrogrades is that when you are taking everything out to look at it again, you often find a lot of gems, things that you totally forgot about. If you're a writer, maybe if you're clearing out old files, you find some things that could be usable for a current project, or that you feel inspired to go back and start getting into again. This happens all the time. Either something that you find or something comes back to you through someone else mentioning it, or you know, something floats in your field in some way from the past, then you get back on it and you bring it to a different level. You know, it's like something coming back from the past that you work on. But you often will find a lot of gems, you know, so contacting people from the past, going through things from the past, clearing out stuff is one of the best things you can do during retrogrades. And then you'll be in a much better position for launching when the stars are great again, which is like May 21st is really, you know, there might be a couple of dates before then that could work, but that's the day that the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde is clear. So you've got from May 21st through July 25th, free of personal planet retrogrades. And as we get closer to those days, I'll give you, you know, challenging dates and good dates around in that time period. But I just want to give you an overview for the year so you have a snapshot of what we're looking at. Then we have another retrograde cycle between July 26th and October 6th, and then we're clear again from October 7th through November 5th. So essentially you've got 2 good launching periods this year. And then you might want to take advantage of that and line things up that way. So, let's see, I want to give you the good dates. I say good dates. These are dates that have sweet aspects that are occurring. And note that some of the dates I give you that could carry sweetness are also some of the same dates that could bring challenges or drama. Because on some days we have certain really good aspects and certain challenging aspects at the same time. I'm going to give you the dates, but note that sometimes we feel the energy of a transit before or after the day it actually occurs. So sometimes the exact date isn't as relevant as the time period. I'm not going to list all of why these dates carry sweetness or challenges. You can see more details about that when you sign up for my free email newsletter, which is on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up for the month before that gives the theme of the month, themes, keynotes, sweet days, challenging days, as well as the actual aspects that make those sweet or challenging, with a little bit of explanation as to why and what's happening there. So you can get that for free on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so you might find sweetness on or around January 3rd, January 6th and 7th, January 20th, 23rd, 28th, and 29th. Put a big star around January 29th January 28th, because this is the Chinese New Year and the new moon in Aquarius. So if you have to push something through that you could not push through in my suggested time frame that ran until December 3rd, then this might be a date that could work for you, because it's dancing right between some challenging aspects, but it has a lot of good energy for forward momentum. So if you have to push something through or do a follow-up for something that you had already started, that could be a date that you could slip in. Really, the end of January and the beginning of February, if you have anything that you're going to have to push through that you didn't do in the window through the beginning of December, that's going to be your best time, because you're only going to get deeper into the Venus retrograde as you get deeper into February. So it's going to be pretty retrograde-y until May after that. But it will still have effects because it's right in the middle of all this, but it's your best bet if you have to do something. So the dates to have extra care or where there might be challenges or drama are January 5th through 12th, the 19th, the 27th through the 29th, and the 31st. Okay, so definitely check out my blogs, my new moon, making powerful wishes for each of the new moons on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can also check out my courses, my coach certification course, my creating successful online business course, and my astrology apprenticeship program. My astrology apprenticeship program and my creating successful online business courses will be re-enrolling. They have been closed for enrollment. They will be re-enrolling in January. So you can check that out, and maybe you'll want to join me to do these professional certification courses. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next month. Bye.